TAQA is the Abu Dhabi national energy company, and one of its senior personnel is David Cook, who is the head of oil and gas, who joins us now. David, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be here.
One of the themes of the Oil Council this year is partnerships, which of course TAQA is really heavily into. I want to get onto that in just a minute, but I want to start by asking you about the industry. How do you see the industry's role evolving?
It's interesting. We are an industry that's poorly understood, perhaps, but the reality is the world is going to continue to need hydrocarbons, oil, gas, for decades and decades and decades to come. What's shifting, I think, is that the industry's role is starting to recognize it's not just a for-profit business, but it is a business that actually needs to deliver on human essentials. We need to deliver on power and water into developing countries. We need to deliver new energy alternatives or greater energy efficiency in the developed countries. So the role is becoming one much more benign partnership, if you will, government to government, government to community, and company to community, as opposed to just the oil behemoths that perhaps were perceived in the past.
And how does TAQA execute strategy to fulfill its role?
Well, clearly, we see ourselves as a company that's distinctive in that when we go into an area to work, we tend to operate, and we tend to bring something that's very necessary to that particular environment. We're the 6th largest IPP in the world, so we provide power and water to much of North Africa and the Middle East. We are a large oil and gas company with operations everywhere from northwestern Canada to the North Sea to the northwestern Europe and even into the Middle East and Kurdistan, the Kurdish region of Iraq. In each of these areas, we work very hard to be collaborative and aligned with the needs of the local governments, the local communities, and the local industry. And it's partnering all those pieces together that allow us to deliver successfully on our strategy.
We're here in London, let's say, at the Oil Council meeting. What about the UK, and some more detail about how you're operating here, and how do you find the environment?
Yeah. The UK and the UKCS has been a particularly great success story for us. We entered in here in 2007, essentially taking over some declining fields from some of the larger companies. These were seen as fields that had limited life, and yet we have taken projects that were producing 20,000 barrels a day and declining, and we now have produced them in excess of 50,000 barrels a day, and in average over 40,000 barrels a day. We've put over $4 billion US into the UK in that period of time, and we continue to see new opportunities. We've had additional exploration successes, we're doing new developments in new fields, and we continue to look for opportunities to grow those foundation businesses such as we have in the UKCS.
Using partnerships amongst other things, isn't it? How critical do you see partnerships as being important these days to successfully drilling and producing?
Yeah, partnerships do several things. One, it can be about capabilities. Two, it can be about risk sharing. But I think three, and perhaps most importantly, is what we actually bring in to the region. So what we bring to the UK is not just a company that's producing oil and gas, but a company that can invest in a safe, smart, intelligent way and extend the life of the UKCS. We can take areas that were considered to be declining and near the end of their field life, and obviously we've extended those significantly already, and we see other opportunities to do this for decades to come.
One of the big things again at the moment is this worry about risk, whether it's political or geographical. How do you perceive risk at TAQA?
We're an industry that has to be very serious about risks. The things we do are fundamental to the world. There is a demand for energy growth, and yet the way we do these things are inherently risky. One, you're dealing with Mother Nature. Two, you're dealing with a lot of engineering and a lot of technology. So that execution or operational risk is something that we have to manage every minute of every day. We have to make sure we're keeping our people, our communities, our environment safe. But there's another aspect, and that is the political risk. And political risk can be, or above ground risk, can be perceived differently by different companies. As the Abu Dhabi National Energy Company, as a company that's backed to some degree by the Abu Dhabi sovereign, we may have a different perception of risk, above ground risk, in, for example, the Middle East, North African region. So we may be very willing to go in and do additional work in Iraq, Kurdistan, Egypt, Libya, the likes of those countries where other companies may not be quite as tolerant of that above ground risk as we will be.
One of the other points that came out of one of the first debates at the Oil Council this year was this move from the traditional to the unconventional, and indeed also the discussion to whether energy is going to be supplied by renewables or whether fossil fuels are going to be continue to be the main provider of energy. Where do you see this moving over the next few years?
This is a great debate, as I like to say. Today's unconventionals are tomorrow's conventionals.
Right.
And the reason that we can say that, quite honestly, is that our industry, by its nature, is a very long wavelength industry. We can't measure things just on a quarterly basis. Projects that we do often take years and years to develop, and the technologies to do today's unconventionals will take and evolve over many years. The challenges of deep water of 15 to 20 years ago are now almost commonplace today. So our industry is actually a technology leader in the sense that we can take these challenges and make them part of the day-to-day operations. But the reality is hydrocarbons and the delivery of energy, oil and gas, in order to provide power, water, the human necessities, is going to be around for a long time. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't be looking for more efficient ways of using those hydrocarbons, or that we shouldn't be looking for renewable alternatives. This is something TAQA is also involved in. We have an energy solutions group. We are looking at waste to energy. We're looking at offshore wind projects. This has all got to be part of the new energy mix that will evolve over the next several decades.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for dropping by, David.
It's been great.
David Cook there from TAQA.
Thank you very much.